Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a My 2 Cent video for this week, for the week of May 22nd to the 28th. Though I won't have a video game review for this week, though, mostly because obviously, putting aside the fact that it's going to be Memorial Day, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to be spending time with friends and family, I'm going to be doing that as well, particularly for my mother. It'll be her birthday this week, and I will be spending time with family. Though we'll be going out to a restaurant called Buca de Becca, so I won't have a video. I might not have a video review. I know it won't be a gaming review. I might be able to squeeze in maybe a my review of a show I watched on streaming or on Paramount Plus. So I'll try to get to that, but for the most part, there won't be any video game review for this week. Obviously, it's Memorial Day, so hopefully all of you are out there are having a enjoyable and, of course, safe Memorial Day, regardless of whether it's with friends or family, whatever it is. Just enjoy Memorial Day and also be safe out there as well. But anyway, we got 4 stories to cover, including Eiyuden, if I'm saying the name correctly, Chronicles 100 Heroes has now been confirmed for the Nintendo Switch. We also am going to respond to an article that supposedly Kotaku ran in terms of what they are considering GamePass burnout, and I want to give my thoughts on that one. I also want to talk about Ravensoft in terms of basically they have now voted to unionize and all, and of course reports of EA maybe looking to merge or something like that. So we'll be talking about that. And if you're interested in where I got a lot of the source of these informations, links will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. But before we get started, I'd like to start off what I like to call the quick My 2 Cents, stories that kind of caught my attention, but I'm not going to go into a huge amount of details. The first one is that apparently we learned of a new RPG being developed by folks who worked on the Mana, Pokemon, and Xenoblade series called Trinity Trigger. This was sort of leaked and sort of the name of the title to be exact, though. It's scheduled to come out in Japan supposedly this year, from what I've been hearing, though. I'm going to come to multiple systems, including the Nintendo Switch. No word on a Western release at this time, though, but I am very curious considering it's made up of folks who worked on the Pokemon series, the Mana series, and the Xenoblade Chronicle series, though. So I do hope it does come here to the West, though, and if it does, I do hope the Switch version does get a physical version, though. We also learned that about the upcoming One Piece Odyssey. They showed off some screenshots with some of the RPG battles and all that stuff, and judging from what I've seen so far, it looked like something that I saw from, I think, last year's Koei Tecmo's Fairy Tail and all that stuff, which wasn't necessarily a bad thing, and I'm very curious about it, though. And I will say, when it comes to some licensed games, though, I do think Bandai Namco has done a pretty good job. I enjoyed some of their Sword Art Online games, to be exact, so I might be keeping an eye on this, even though I'm not a big One Piece fan or anything like that. We also learned that the Lord of the Rings Gollum game is set to be released this September, though, which is certainly great. The bad news is for Switch owners, it looks like we may have to wait a little bit longer, which is a little bit unfortunate, to be exact. Hopefully this delay means that we can iron out some stuff and make the Switch version run well and all that stuff. But yeah, I can understand why some Nintendo fans may be disappointed, but for everyone else, though, it's set to be released this September. We also learned that basically the Sonic the Hedgehog movie set 2, though, is now available on supposedly will be available now on Paramount Plus, which is certainly nice, especially for those who were a fan of the second movie, though. I saw it, though. I enjoyed it, though, but I came away with the same view I had with the first one, though. It won't reinvent the wheel or anything like that, but it was still entertaining nevertheless, and I do think this is one of the examples of a movie based off a video game done right, to be exact, though. Also, Jim Carrey does a great job playing Dr. Robotnik, so I'll point that out. Speaking of which, we've learned that the Sonic the Hedgehog 2 movie has now surpassed $375 million globally, which is certainly nice. We know that they're working on a Sonic the Hedgehog 3, that's for certain, though. We know his spin-off is basically being done with Knuckles And we also know the fact that supposedly they're pushing more for a cinematic universe. And I will say, for the cinematic universe approach that Paramount seems to be doing, it seems to be off to a very good start, more than I could say with like what Universal tried to do with the Dark Universe and WB in a way with the DCEU to a certain extent, though. We also learned that the Sega CEO is trying to work towards to make sure that Sonic Frontier gets a high review score, particularly on Metacritic, though. I would say that's going to be extremely challenging because Sonic games outside of the 2D ones, the 3D ones have been sort of a mixed bag, and not all of them have gotten high reviews, though. Remember Sonic 06, for example, or the way Sonic Colors that port was handled, though. So we'll have to wait and see. But sometimes you can have a situation where a game gets a high score but doesn't sell very well or so forth. So we'll have to wait and see how it all plays out. I am very cautious about Sonic Frontier to be exact. I don't want it to fail, but I have my concerns considering how Sega has handled at least the 3D Sonic games, to be exact. We also learned that Klonoa Fantasy, basically the Switch version we now know is going to be, the file size is going to be 8 gigabyte, and it looks like they're trying to aim for 60 frames per second, though. I do hope they can succeed in that, to be exact, though, but the fact that it's 8 gigabyte is not bad or anything like that, though. I might consider picking this one up, particularly with the physical version, though. We also learned that Grasshopper Manufacturer is going to tease a new game, and that they might reveal it at the end of 2022, though. I'm very curious to see what kind of game it's going to be, though. I like some of the games Grasshopper Manufacturer has created, though, so I'm a little curious to see what this one might be. Hopefully, maybe, I know this is a long shot, sequel to Killer 7. That would certainly be nice if they could do that. We also learned that Mr. Sakurai had a meeting with HAL Laboratories, though. Some have speculated this could be the start of a new game or anything like that, or it could just be him meeting with his fellow former employees and all. So this could go either way. I'm thinking it's most likely he's meeting with some old friends or anything like that, but who knows, though. We also learned that Capcom has just put out the website celebrating the 10th anniversary of the Dragon Dogma series, which has been released on multiple platforms, including in the Nintendo Switch in 2019. Definitely enjoyed the game. I can see why it has gained a following, though. Many are hoping this could lead to a sequel. We don't know if that's going to happen or anything like that, but who knows? We know Capcom's thinking about revising some of their old IPs. Maybe this could open the door to a Dragon Dogma 2. And if it does happen, I'm curious for two things. One, whether it will make it to the Nintendo Switch, which I hope it does. And two, whether it will run on the famous RE engine or not. We also learned that Sony has confirmed working on basically several TV shows in terms of Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War, and Gran Turismo. Word is that the Horizon Zero Dawn one is going to be in work with Netflix and all. We know that they're working on The Last of Us for HBO Max. Could this work? I mean, it's a possibility. I mean, if they do it correctly, though, these shows could work, to be exact. We've seen video games, TV shows done very well. Castlevania remains a favorite of mine, though. The Witcher has done very well, so it's certainly not out of the realm of possibilities, but we'll have to wait and see. We also learned that supposedly that they're aiming for a 2024 release for the Sonic the Hedgehog 3, and they're possibly looking for a Hollywood voice actor to voice, spoiler alert for those who haven't seen Sonic the Hedgehog 2, possibly Shadow the Hedgehog. Word has it that they've been looking at several different actors. I've heard Keanu Reeves is being one of those, but we'll have to wait and see if that comes around or not, though. I am down for the third one, though, so that certainly is nice. And last but not least, one trailer and one video was recently was shown, though. The first one was Thor: Love and Thunder's official trailer, and that one looks very impressive. I'm curious to see how that one plays out, especially with the Greek gods. And this is a parody trailer. This was shown off from my nephew, and I thought this was pretty funny. Someone took 2020, this year's The Batman movie, and put the late Adam West from the old I think, 60s Batman TV show. It's weird and bizarre, but it's just pretty amazing how they managed to pull this off, though. Okay, with the quick My 2 cent part now done, we'll get started with our first story. And this one has to do with EA, though, as apparently they are looking at possibility of mergers, though. Now, we've been seeing a lot of acquisitions lately as of this generation, though. We've seen cases of where Sony has purchased studios ranging from Insomniac to recently Bungie to Microsoft, which has currently shocked a lot of folks with basically the purchase ranging from Bethesda to even Activision Blizzard, which while it's still going through, the FTC looking through everything, though, many speculate that more than likely the deal will probably mostly go through though. And even Nintendo, to some degree, to be exact. I wouldn't go as far as saying that they are on a spending spree on the way that Sony and Microsoft are doing, though. But they did purchase, next level games to make it part of their family and all that stuff. Well, recently we are now learning that apparently EA may be considered pursuing basically either selling or possibly merging or anything like that, though. In an article published on Nintendo Life, it reads that, quote, Microsoft's recent acquisition of video game companies like Bethesda and Activision Blizzard has sent the entire industry into a frenzy, where companies like Sony pulling out its wallet to acquire the Halo and Destiny developer Bungie. Now, in the latest development, a report by news website Puck reveals EA is actually pursuing, I apologize if I'm saying that incorrectly, a sale or a merger with an even bigger company. According to the report via Kotaku, the Battlefield and FIFA maker has supposedly already held talks with companies like Disney, Apple, and Amazon. It also apparently been in negotiation with NBC Universal about the potential merger, but the two parties could not come to an agreement. Both parties declined to comment, and EA did not respond to rumors and speculation. Comcast CEO Brian Roberts reportedly proposed the merger, and if it had gone ahead, it would have seen Roberts remain in control with the current CEO Andrew Wilson as head of the new mega business. EA supposedly had been persistent in pursuing a sale and is only more eager after Microsoft sealed a deal with Activision Blizzard. It will also like an arrangement that seems Wilson remain as chief executive. Although it's believed no deals are currently in the work, it's reportedly still key to make an acquisition or merger happen. Now, it's sort of interesting because we've been hearing the same thing with sort of Ubisoft as well. They are sort of setting themselves up for a merger or acquisition, though. And I do wonder why the timing of this. Is it because maybe some of the games that they were working on did not perform as well as they thought they would be? I mean, we've seen what happened with games like Battlefield 2042 and all. So it's kind of interesting to see all these EA starting to do this, though. Disney, I could see some degree making sense, considering that some of the Star Wars license that Disney had licensed Star Wars to EA, of course, they let that expire, and now we're hearing other studios are taking part in the Star Wars license as well. And while Disney has some history with licensing out their games, though, they had at one point Disney Interactive, but decided to move away from basically publishing video games and just license out certain characters or license out some of their games. We've seen that with whether it's Marvel Spider-Man to Sony, though. Interestingly enough, we heard about how at one point Microsoft turned down basically working on a Marvel licensed game, which is sort of interesting looking at it now. To, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 The Black Order, how that was licensed out to Nintendo, which fully wanted to fund that game. So, I mean, it's possible Disney could, but they couldn't, but maybe something didn't go through very well. I mean, another group that could consider buying EA or possibly merging or something would be Embracer Group. They've been buying up a lot of studios lately. We've seen them recently purchase Crystal Dynamics and Eidos and even Square Montreal from Square Enix, to be exact. So they've been acquiring a lot of studios. It's possible that we could see something like Embracer Group, or we could see something like, say, Tencent or NetEase possibly merging and acquiring EA, though. I know that might be controversial for some, but I mean, we're seeing a lot of these acquisitions, and to be exact, though. So it's going to be really interesting to see if someone does come to consider buying EA or merging with them, though. So overall, very interesting to see that EA is doing this, though. Whether we see an actual merger or acquisition, that remains to be seen at this time. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 2, and this one has to do with Raven Software, or at least some of the employees at Raven Software have voted to unionize and all. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of my 2 cent video for this week. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at Raven Software. Particularly recently, they have voted in favor of unionization and all. Now, unionization has sort of been gaining a lot of attention in the gaming industry space, though. This is ranging from situations such as the issues of crunch time to recently the issues of, how employees are treated, though. We've been hearing situations regarding Nintendo in terms of how contractors are being treated and how currently right now they're being investigated by the labor department or the labor board, though. But probably the biggest one we've been hearing has been from Activision Blizzard, and this sort of has to do with the way a lot of the culture at Activision Blizzard and how some of the employees are treated, and particularly the female employees, to how Bobby Kotick has sort of conducted himself, though. Now, there have been some push. This has sort of led to the creation of a better gaming or better working alliance. I apologize, I'm not saying the name correctly. That have been pushing for unionization for basically at Activision Blizzard, particularly with the Raven Software, though, employees. I think this started with a lot of the video game testers. Well, recently a vote has happened, and it looks like that we are now seeing unionization, or at least they voted in favor of unionization at Raven Software. In an article from Game Industry Biz, this was the original story came out on May 23rd with an update from a response from Activision Blizzard. Anyway, the article reads, quote, "Today, Q&A staff at Raven Software has successfully voted to be recognized as a union known as Games Worker Alliance. This is the first time a working group from a major video game company has successfully unionized." Bloomberg reporter Jason Schreier said in a tweet that there were 19 votes for and 3 votes against the decision. It is now official. Testers at Activision's own Raven Software have voted to form the U.S. video game industry's first major union, he said in a social media post. As reported by Polygon, Raven unionization effort began in January as 78% QA testers voted to form a union and then asked parent company Activision Blizzard to recognize the group. Raven Software staff moved this union effort forward without being recognized by Activision Blizzard leadership. The company then announced structural change among its employees. The move embedded QA workers within each development division, which at the time could have potentially jeopardized their unionization. In February, an internal Slack channel message from Activision Vice President for QA said that unions could hurt our ability to create great games. Axiom reported during March that Microsoft, which posed to purchase the Call of Duty developer maker, said it will recognize Game Worker Alliance if Activision Blizzard does so. Last month, the Washington Post reported that the National Labor Relations Board, NRLB, rejected Activision Blizzard's objection to not recognize the Raven Software Q&A test group's union election. The publisher said that any union at Ravensoft will require all the game staff studios a number of over 200. The NLRB object to this and said that the group of 21 QA testers were enough as a bargaining unit. And from an update from May 24th, 22nd by also from Game Industry .biz, it reads, quote, an Activision Blizzard spokesman has provided a statement regarding the QA group's unionization vote. And they said, quote, we respect and believe in the rights of all employees to decide whether or not to support or vote for unions. We believe that an important decision will impact the entire Raven Software Studios of roughly 350 people and should not be made by 19 Raven employees, though. Excuse me. And of course, obviously, Destructoid points out that they said, although I may have mentioned this, they told the Washington Post earlier this year that it will not stand in the way of an Activision Blizzard union, though. Now, when it comes to unions or anything like that, my position on this in general is that this has to be the employee's decision. They have to make the call on whether or not unionization is the right direction to go, though, and sort of weigh the pros and cons and determine if this truly is the direction they want to go, to be exact. Now, I am part of a union and all that stuff, and I won't say I'm entirely pro-union, but I'm not anti-union either, though. There are times when I will disagree with unions on certain positions, such as union dues being used for political purposes that you may not 100% agree with or anything like that, but I'm not against unions or in terms of fighting for the rights of workers and so forth, though. This is a position I have held for a long time. My position hasn't changed when we heard about Starbucks employees voting for unionization. It's the same view I had with the Amazon workers at the Amazon warehouse, whether it was in New York or New Jersey or in Alabama, to, of course, what we're hearing with Activision Blizzard. And if the employees feel this is the right direction to go, that should be their decision. And while I certainly condemn any bullying or intimidating or threats to force people to join a union, I'm also would outright condemn any use of any union busting tactics of any type. It needs to be a free and fair vote. And if this vote was done free and fair without any outside interference, though, I will say then I will respect that decision. And if this is a decision the employees at Raven Software want to do, then that's fine. I have no objection to it, though. I would also like to add to this that putting aside Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard for just a minute, based on everything we've heard about what happened at Activision Blizzard, from how the leadership treated their employees to stuff like they didn't make all the money in the world, therefore they're going to lay off several employees while the CEOs give themselves bonuses, though, I would say I certainly was more in favor of them unionizing and all that stuff. We'll see how far the unionization this goes, though. Hopefully this means that we'll see better working conditions in Activision Blizzard. And with Microsoft poised to purchase Activision Blizzard, hopefully they will stay true to their words and respect the employees' decisions to unionize and everything like that. So it's going to be really interesting to see if we start seeing other game developers, if this starts having a domino effect where we can see other studios be impacted. Maybe we might see a push for employees at Nintendo, Sony, or Microsoft to unionize or anything like that. Again, like I said, it has to be the employee's decision and the employee's decision alone. No one should threaten or intimidate employees. No one should tell them they need to or not join a union. And like anything, they got to weigh the pros and cons and determine whether this is the right direction to go or not. So overall, very, very interesting to see Raven Software employees vote for unionization, and it's going to be really interesting to see if this creates a domino effect in the industry or not. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll get to part 3, and this one has to do with supposedly a response to basically Kotaku writing an article about what they believe is GamePass burnout. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 3 of my 2 cent video for this week. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at Game Pass, particularly from a response from Kotaku, though. Now, as some of you may know, though, one of the surprises from the Microsoft camp so far is to learn that both two of their highly anticipated titles, though, Starfield and Redfall, have been delayed into early of next year. And while it certainly is a disappointment, though, there have been, I can understand the reason why in terms of wanting to avoid, another Cyberpunk 2077 type situation or a Fallout 76 when that kind of launched. But with those titles being delayed, though, there are some out there who do not feel like there's any reason, or at least right now, not to subscribe to Game Pass or anything like that. This sort of stems from an article from Kotaku, which basically stated, though, that pointing out how there is basically title after years of hype, the Xbox Game Pass burnout is here. Burnout is here. A drought of AAA games has spurred some to unsubscribe for Microsoft's game on demand services for now, though. So it basically points out how some people are basically unsubscribing. One person in the tweet wrote, this person was from Tom's Guide, that said, "This service is great, but there aren't any AAA exclusives that compel me to stay. Tom's Guide writer Tony Polanco said in a tweet, "I'll be back when the titles start dropping." Washington reporter Glenn Park shared a similar sentiment, pointing out that over the past few months, the only games from the service he's availed himself is Trek to Yoma, a side-scrolling samurai action game, though. Other prominent members of the gaming controller limit paying up front for months, if not years, of Game Pass, while others compare unfavorably against the upcoming revamp of PS Plus, though. There are some that are saying that, are calling this whole thing cloud, or saying no one cares and all. While also, in the same time, Microsoft has kind of responded to this in a way. In an article from Pure Xbox, it reads that, quote, if you happened to be browsing Twitter last night or a couple days ago, you may have come across a response from the official Xbox Game Pass account that ended up going viral, talking about Kotaku article describing Xbox Game Pass burnout. The article, which mentions various Xbox fans and journalists, suggested they might be thinking of unsubscribing based on Game Pass not delivering on its value precision, or prompting the following reply from Xbox on Twitter. This is what Xbox Game Pass on Twitter said, quote, in response to Kotaku, "Tell me you limit yourself to only AAA games without telling me you limit yourself to only AAA games, though." It reads that, quote, "To be fair, the article in question isn't an opinion piece. It is a news story shared some of the fans' response they've come across online, which is something we often hear at Pure Xbox for both positive and negative reasons. Nevertheless, we could definitely also understand Xbox's point of view here, and although Game Pass might now be losing out on the likes of Starfield and Redfall in 2022, we've also been treated by some outstanding games on the service so far this year, plenty of those being indie games that undoubtedly deserve their time in the spotlight, though." Now, I will say, in terms of this, there are some arguments, I can see some point of view, but some of it I don't entirely disagree. I do think that there is some areas Microsoft can do to improve Game Pass in general. And I do think the delay of Starfield and Redfall was kind of sort of a punch in the gut, since they were promoting this as those games will be day one on Game Pass, which they will be, but we'll probably have to wait a little bit longer for those games to be exact. And I don't deny the fact that there are some areas Microsoft can do to improve the service. I do think bringing in more AAA games would be great, though. I think that's an area that Microsoft should improve upon, though. That being said, though, I still think Game Pass is still a good value in my opinion, at least based on my time with it. Though recently I just downloaded Sniper Elite 5 from Game Pass to be exact though. And the thing about Game Pass that I like is that it gives me the opportunity to try out a game to see if it's something that clicks with me, and if it's something I like and I figure, hey, this is good, I definitely like this game, and I decide to go ahead and purchase it on my Xbox Series S, I get an automatic discount out of it though. One example is the game Weird West that I've been trying out from Devolver Digital to be exact, and I enjoyed that game. I enjoyed the whole art style, the story, and everything about it, that I decided to go ahead and purchase the game though. And what would have cost me $39, around $40, cost me around $35 because it was on Game Pass though. So I do think there is certain value with Game Pass. As to me, it gives you that opportunity to try that game out and determine whether or not it's worth your time and money to be exact. So I still think that there's good value with Game Pass, despite not having these games, despite not having Starfield and Redfall available this year to be exact. And we won't know what Microsoft's Bethesda showcase is going to be like. Maybe there's something else that will take its place, and maybe not. We won't know until possibly June in terms of basically if we're going to see what kind of games are going to be available day one for Game Pass and all. As for limiting yourself to AAA games, I would say, while everyone has their own different preference and taste, and that's fine. Those who only enjoy AAA games, that's their decision though. I just don't agree with that mindset though. I'm not saying AAA games are necessarily bad. There are good AAA games out there, but there are times when there are AA games and indie games that I think are better than what AAA games are, and sometimes they could put those AAA games to shame to be exact, and sometimes those games play better than, say, like a AAA game, where sometimes a lot of these developers try to rush their AAA games out just to meet their bottom ends though. I mean, one example is the game Tunic though, that I've been playing on, that I played on the Xbox Series S though. That's an indie game, but that looks really good. I like the combat is fun, even though it's a Souls-like combat though. The art style of the game looks nice. The music looks great though. It's a really good game, and I'm glad that it was available on Game Pass for me to try it out to determine if it's something worth my time or money to play though. So I think there is don't agree with the mindset of only playing AAA games, because you're missing out on a lot of really good games, whether it's a AA or indie though. Again, not dissing AAA games, it's just that you're sort of limiting yourself. So overall, I think there's some arguments criticism you can make towards Game Pass, and some that are legitimate though. I really am not buying out the burnout argument. I still think there's some value with Game Pass though. I do think that there are certainly some areas they can improve upon, and whether you choose to subscribe or unsubscribe, that's your call, or anything like that though. But I still think there is value with Game Pass, and I like the approach and concept that Microsoft has done with Game Pass though. Like I said, yes, there is some room for improvement though, but despite Redfield and Starfield being delayed, that has not changed my opinion about Game Pass, and I'm still sticking with it though. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll get to part 4, and this one has to do with Eiyuden, if I'm saying the name correctly, Chronicles 100 Heroes, now being confirmed for the Nintendo Switch. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with our 4th and final part of our My 2 Cent video. And for this one, I want to be talking about the game Eiyuden, again, I apologize, I'm not saying the name correctly, Chronicles 100 Heroes. Now, this was a game that was announced for Kickstarters a while back. This was made up by former developers that worked on a game that called Solow, again, apologize, I'm not saying the name correctly, that at the time worked at Konami. But since most of the staff have left and everything like that, some have gone their separate ways. We've seen like Kojima move on to other things like Death Stranding. We've seen the developers of Castlevania Sympathy of the Night, one of my favorite Castlevania games of all time, go and do Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. And now we have this one who did that game work on 100 Heroes. Now, at the time when this game was announced, it was unclear if it would be coming to the Nintendo Switch or not. At one point, they did mention they would bring it to Nintendo's next system and all. And that led to some people wondering if this was for the Switch 2 or Switch Pro. Others thinking of, well, wait a minute, if this game runs on Unity, doesn't the Nintendo Switch support Unity and everything like that? There were some that weren't exactly happy with that kind of statement. Regardless of that, though, the game did become very successful with its Kickstarter and all. And recently they released a prequel called, I think, Rising. Let's see if I get that name correctly, though. Chronicles Rising, though, which recently was released on all systems, including the Nintendo Switch, which it's also brought up something interesting because it pointed out that you could take some of that stuff and bring it into 100 Heroes. Now that got some Switch owners kind of confusing because the developers never really showed or said that that 100 Heroes was coming to the Nintendo Switch. Until now, though, which they now updated on their Kickstarter page, that they have now confirmed that the game will indeed be coming to the Nintendo Switch, though. In an article published by Nintendo Life, it reads that, quote, after years of speculation and confirming of a technical investigation earlier this month, Sodokin series successor Eiyuden Chronicles 100 Heroes, again, apologize if I'm not saying the name correctly though, will be coming to the Nintendo Switch. Previously, Rabbit and Bear Studios had said that its upcoming RPG would be coming to the Nintendo's next generation console, but today, in a Kickstarter update for the game, the developers have announced that the game will indeed be coming to the current generation. This on top of an already confirmed console release and maybe whatever comes after the Switch. This follows the release of Eiyuden Chronicle Rising, a prequel game set in the same world as 100 Heroes. The game launched on the Switch, but it was confirmed to have capabilities with the eventual main event, which confused many as Switch owners would be left out. Now that's not a concern. Here's what Rabbit and Bear said in an update titled Update Number 44. That's, quote, that's right. Given the recent speculation over the Nintendo Switch and potential next-generation Nintendo iteration, we wanted to play it safe and investigated what options we had before fully committed to a Nintendo Switch version. But now the wait is over, and we're delighted to confirm that Eiyuden Chronicles 100 Heroes will also be landing on Nintendo Switch. Whether 100 Heroes will launch on the same day as its PC and console counterpart, we don't know yet. However, we still have a ways to go before we can experience this spiritual successor to Konami's beloved RPG series would be like. So for me, I think this is both good, but also at the same time somewhat concerning though, because there's still some questions about the Switch version though. So while I'm happy to see it come to the Nintendo Switch, I do wonder is this development team handling the Switch version, or is it being handled to a port house though? Are they going to put actual time and effort onto the Nintendo Switch version, or are they going to do a half-assed job? And of course, will this game be released on the same day as the other versions, or will Switch owners have to wait a little bit longer though? So there certainly is some concerns I do have with it, and some questions that have yet to be answered though, and I do hope that the developers do answer those questions soon or over time, to say the least though. But at the same time, it is very nice that we have now an official confirmation that this will be coming to the Nintendo Switch, and supposedly the next iteration of the Nintendo Switch. I think that, as a side note, I think Nintendo is working on a Switch 2 or Switch Pro or a successor to the Nintendo Switch though. I still think they're going to stick with the Switch design for a while though. I don't think they're going to abandon that. I just think they're wondering when will be the right time to actually release this Switch 2 or Switch Pro to be exact though. But in either case, it's very nice that they had officially confirmed the Nintendo Switch version though. I am curious to see how the game will run and play on the Nintendo Switch when it's finally released. And of course, whether or not we are going to actually get like a physical version or not. I do hope for a physical version. I do hope it's one of those, it's the whole game in the cartridge, not one of those you get the cartridge but have to download the rest, or the stupid idiotic will have a physical version but it will just be a piece of paper in the box. I'm not a fan of that approach or anything like that. So overall though, there's some questions about 100 Heroes in regards to the Switch version, how it will run, how the developers are handling that version, and whether it will be released on the same day as the other versions though. But in either case, it's very nice to hear that we now have an official confirmation confirmation that's coming to the Nintendo Switch. So for those who picked up Rising and thinking that 100 Heroes wasn't going to come to the Nintendo Switch, hopefully this brings a smile to this face though. Now we just wait to see exactly some information about the game, including how the game runs on the Nintendo Switch and all. Okay, this concludes this My Choose Net video for this week, for the week of May 22nd to the 28th. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about the idea of EA selling or merging though? Do you think this is a good idea? Do you think this is a bad idea? Do you think there are anybody you think that would be a good pick to either buy EA or merge with them though? What are your thoughts about Raven Software voting in favor of unionization? Do you think this is the right approach for them? Do you think this is the right idea? Do you think this is the wrong idea though? Do you think this could create a domino effect, and in which we could see other game developers decide to unionize and all? What are your thoughts about Kotaku's argument about GamePass burnout? Do you think Kotaku's argument is correct though? Or do you think that they are blowing it out of proportion though? And despite Redfall and Starfield being delayed though, are you still sticking with Game Pass, or have you decided to unsubscribe and maybe come back later, or unsubscribe completely though? And what are your thoughts about 100 Heroes now coming to the Nintendo Switch? Does this put a smile on your face though? Does it make you now figure, yeah, I'll pick up its prequel Rising though on the Nintendo Switch, or on other systems to be exact though? Are you concerned about how the Switch version is going to look or play or anything like that? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off on the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you do like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day though. And hopefully you guys have a happy and safe Memorial Day weekend though. Bye.